Welcome to this brief presentation of the MerMaid software. MerMaid stands for Motor Event Recorder of Municipal and Industrial Data. This software is more targeted as a wastewater lift station, but it can be used to analyze anything that is electrical. Simply open a lift station here. By the way, the data can come from a MerMaid data logger, a VolCalc VS, or VolCalc RT, all made by MAID Labs. The only thing that is entered in the software to be able to calculate pump efficiency is the dimension of the well, which can be cylindrical or other shapes, and the distance between the levels, and those can be calculated from the top of the well, from the bottom of the well, or in between levels at which pumps do operate. Nothing else was entered in the software. The only other thing that we supplied to this software was the dimension of the current clamps that were used to monitor the pumps. The first report is the evaluation report. In this report you have the dimension of the well, because flow calculations are based on the precision of the volume that are entered there. If you're using multiple current clamps, then you can see how well balanced they are. That's the case for if data comes from a MerMaid, but it's not the case if it comes from a VolCalc. You have the run times during that period that we have the study here, the number of starts we had, and the number of suspicious events that were detected for that period of time. We expect, if we look here, that a event that is shorter than 10 seconds is abnormal, is suspicious, and that's what we see here. So other than that, we calculate the number of kilowatts that is being used by each pump. We know what's the pump capacity for each of them. For example, here, when we say that pump number 2 has a flow rate of 830.8 gallons per minute, this is the average of 1,900 drawdown calculation, so that must be quite accurate. And then you have the efficiency, which is the number of gallons pumped per watt of electricity. The efficiency for a pump is like the number of miles per gallon for a car. So if your car would only do 2 miles per gallon, you would want to know about it. That's the same thing for the pumps. And when we look at this pump here and we say, okay, if we would only use pump number 3 to pump all the water, how much electricity we would have saved? We would have saved $3,400 of electricity in 1 year. And that is just electricity alone. Then after that, if you want to send this report to, let's say, your boss or someone else and say, look, that's how much we would be saving just in electricity alone. I'm not talking about maintenance or anything like this, just electricity. And you want to save this report, you can send it, save it as Excel, PDF, or Word. Another report that we have here, let's check for infiltration. I'll go and try to find a rainy day. Here's a good rainy day. Let's hide this. So what you see here in the background, in the back here, is the actual average flow rate if it would have been a dry day. What you have in pink here is the actual flow rate during that day. The dot line is the added flow you got because it was a rainy day. And what you have here is the rain event itself. So over that $3,000 that you're paying too much in electricity because of the efficiency of the pump, then you have all the water that you should not pump that is being added to that $3,000. That doesn't help. So, and if you want to have other information like what's the outflow by pump cycle, you can go and zoom in and see, okay, that is pump 3. That was the pumping rate of that pump at that time, and that's the same thing for pump 1, then pump 2. We know that pump 2 here is the least efficient of them. And the reason why the flow rate is not constant, it's because we're pumping into a force main, and that's what you see when you're pumping into a force main. So that's the second report that we get. Again, it is possible to save this report, and what it looks like, report that you can of course send to a PDF file or an Excel file or Word. That's the same here, so you have the detail. So that's it for that report. Then you have the flow and rain report. We can see events when they occur one by one. So for You know exactly when the pumps are running. We can see they alternate. We can see here pump 1 started, then started at 1:05 in the morning, then ran for 1 minute 46 seconds, then was off for 4 minutes 20 seconds, then pump 2 ran for 8 minutes 32 seconds, then stopped for 2 minutes 44, and so on and so on and so on. With this, we can see if we had rain, we can see what was the volume of water that was displaced, and what was the actual flow rate calculated for that part of the cycle, and what was the actual outflow, the pump capacity calculated for that pump on that cycle. When we say that we have 1900 calculation to arrive with an average capacity, right, these are each of them here. If we want to look for the very short event, we just have to click on the heading here. It will be from the shortest to the longest. And if we take one, let's say here, and we want to see what happened there, we just have to click back to sort by date, then scroll down to where we had this problem, and here we are. We can see here pump 3, we had this pump that ran for not even 1 second, and that was 3:36 in the morning. And here we had the other one that we highlighted, and this time it's pump 1, ran for 1 second, and it was 2:13 in the morning. We have the same thing here, and this is going on, and then go back to normal. That's the type of problem that would not be discovered by just looking at the hour meters or being there and listening when you start and stop them. Most electrical problems starts by being intermittent, then they become emergencies. When they are intermittent, that's the best time to find them, and that's really practical here. Of course, you can export this report to Excel, or if you prefer to have one line per amount of time, you can go there and just say, okay, I would like to have a period of 15 minutes, let's say, and you have one line per 15 minutes, and you know exactly what kind of flow rate you had during that 15 minutes. So if you want to export something that you can use in Excel, of course you can do this again in that format. That covers it. If you want to see a monthly report, you just have to click on monthly report, and that's what you will get. So you can see for each day of the month, okay, what day of the week it is. If you had rain during that period of time, what's the volume of water that you received during that period of time. Then you have the actual average flow rate during that day, the maximum at what time you had it, and then for each pump you have the number of GPM that was calculated for that pump on that day based on 62 drawdown calculation, and the pump ran for 2 hours 16 minutes here. So that's something you have for each of the 3 pumps, and you have totals for the month here. And then you have the same thing for the combination of pumps. So you have timers for combination, number of time these pumps ran together, and what was the average calculation done for these pumps at that time. Most of the time we're using derived flow when we have a combination of pumps. That means we are using pre-calculated pump capacity because we don't have enough events to calculate properly in some circumstances. So that's what's going on here. If we want to have more detail, we can go to analog. I mean, we can go in real great detail about what happened to each phase. I mean, we have the start peak, and then you have for each of the 3 phases for that pump, and we know exactly what was going on. So it's very clear. We can go into detail in every aspect of whatever is going on at the lift station. If you're connected to a MerMaid data logger, then you have the possibility of seeing stuff in real time. And here what you see, you have pump 1 that is running. Each phase has its own needle. You can see that the current is properly balanced within 5%. You can see the voltage for each phase compared to the ground in this case here, and the voltage is within 1%. So it's really highly accurate. So when you do an installation of the MerMaid data logger, you will use this display to make sure that the current is being properly recorded by the instrument. That's the only cue that you have that everything is working properly for the MerMaid data logger. If you're using a VoluCalc VS or a VoluCalc RT, this won't work. This is only working with the MerMaid. With the others, you have the made map application to be able to see stuff more in close to real time. That's a good summary of what the MerMaid software is doing. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.